Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Jason. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. It's finally nice to put a face to the name.
Indeed, same.
All right, we're just going to wait just a few more seconds here, let a few more people join us.
Okay. I'm getting a slight echo. I can hear myself through your monitor, which isn't terrible. It just makes me really self-conscious.
I have a background, a bigger screen going. I just turned it off. Is that better?
Let's see. Yep, that helps tremendously. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, it's not that
Hear you.
it just makes me self-conscious to hear my own voice.
All right, so I'm gonna have to bring that back on.
And remind me, you're in Denver?
I'm actually in Phoenix.
Oh, you're in Phoenix. That's right. That's right. I knew you were out west. I couldn't remember where. Okay, in Phoenix. Okay.
Phoenix. I'm dressed like I'm in Denver because I cranked down my AC last night and it is freezing in here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started, guys. Welcome to the Live webinar for Saturday, June 16th, where we're talking about RBF, or resting bitch face. Is it killing your business? We have a very special guest with us today, Jason Rogers from Noldas, and he's going to talk a little bit about this phenomenon and the pandemic of RBF throughout the business industry. Jason, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us this morning.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. And you know, I was going to give a background about how we happened to cross each other and why I find this so important for our particular business.
Sure.
You know, I started researching RBF because number one, resting bitch face is actually a pretty popular social joke between me and my friends. You know, I've got some friends who have their RBF is just on fleek. So they walk into restaurants and people come over to them and try to console them because they think they're sad or they're angry, and we just have this running joke. But as the notary business started expanding and I started hiring independent contractors to come into title offices and do work for me and represent me and my company, or just go into people's homes and sit with them, I started getting some feedback from some of the notaries that, unbeknownst to them, had RBF. So they just had this pissed off look on their face, and you know, whether we like it or not, people make judgments on the facial expressions that you have. So I was starting to have to shuffle people and move them to different offices because, you know, the upper echelon of management, like vice presidents, would glance into conference rooms and see these just angry looks on people's face, and it had nothing to do with what was going on. They were actually happy in their heads, enjoying the moment, but their face said something completely different. Mm-hmm. So as I started researching this and trying to find a solution, I was like, there has to be an expert on resting bitch face. We got an expert for everything. So that's when I happened across the Washington Post article where it talked about, well, number one, it talked about some of the famous celebrities that are known for their resting bitch face, like Kristen Stewart, Kanye West, and Tyra Banks. I think they were some of the ones in there. And then that just got me researching so many more celebrities that are known for that. But then also where the real value of that article came in, and the reason I was compelled to reach out to you, Jason, was the impact that RBF really does have on everyday people's lives and some of the strategies that you talked about that people can use to help boost not only their social interactions, but their business interactions.
Sure.
That matters every single day. So that's how I reached out. Luckily, that article gave me your email address. I was able to reach out, and I appreciate you being so receptive and willing to meet with our group, because we deal with people, we work with people every single day, and it's all relationship based for us. One relationship changes our entire life. So I just want to really drive home the importance of facial expressions and body language in general. And that's why Jason's with us today. And again, thank you so much. I'm going to kind of turn it over to you now and go from here.
Sure. So again, thank you, Bill, for reaching out and for the opportunity for this webinar. The idea of doing something on RBF really started out as a joke. It started out as sort of a funny commentary between a friend of mine and I, as we were watching our kids running cross country. And her daughter came running by and she said, "Oh, she has such RBF while she runs." And so we were joking about this. And a few days later, I myself was out for a run here in Cincinnati, and I had this thought of, what if we could use our own facial expression recognition technology to see if we could find a pattern within the concept of RBF? How funny would that be? And that's really where it started. So our company really specializes in all things to do with the study of behavior. And one of the programs we have, of course, is Face Reader. And what it does is it models 500 points of the face and tells you what facial expression your face is actually showing. And among one of the new releases, they included a contempt measure as part of that. And so when I started running faces, I thought it was going to be something like an angry face, that RBF would be that somebody looks angry. And as I started running it, I started seeing that contempt started showing up a little bit here and there. And then started thinking, like, why would that be the case? What is that? And then that's when it hit me that contempt is a really complex emotion, right? Bill, if I see your face is sad, I can empathize. Okay, maybe you're having a bad day or something's going on in your life. I can console you. Or if you're angry, right, situationally something's going on. But if you're looking at me with contempt, then I'm looking at you like, what did I do? Why are you looking at me like that? And it creates that separation and feeling of bitchiness, right? Mm. And one thing that really came out of this project was the first of all, like you mentioned, the sheer ubiquity of it in common culture, right? The sheer number of people that have reached out to me to say, yes, I have this, or yes, my family member has have this.
Yeah.
And two, that it's really a gender issue as well, which I did not really expect. You usually hear it reported with women. Women coming to me saying, I get it all the time on the train. People will say to me, "Hey, baby, you should smile more," or "Life's not that bad. You should put a smile on your face." But nobody would ever tell a guy that, right? Nobody's ever sitting on the train and saying, "Hey, hey, dude, you should smile more. You're hotter if you smile," right? Nobody ever does that.
No.
So it was really interesting. What started out as really something very lighthearted, really sort of uncovered something really funny. And it started out looking at celebrities because they were the easiest images to find, right? A Google search, you can quickly find all of these with someone like Anna Kendrick, who of course tweeted out, something about RBF asking for a friend. She sort of sent this sort of lighthearted tweet. And so a lot of people associate it with her. And I think it achieved a lot of the publicity it did because of the relationship to the celebrities. But I'm really struck with how common it was throughout culture, at least in American culture.
That is pretty amazing. It's funny, when I first announced that we were going to be doing this webinar, I too was absolutely amazed by the response that I got. So many people said, "Oh my God, I have this," or "I know somebody who does."
Or "I know somebody." Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think it does permeate. And so now it's also been in my consciousness now, and I'm sure many of you have kind of experienced the same thing. So now I notice it at my wait staff when they come up to my table. I'm like noticing it everywhere, and I'm conscious of the judgments that I'm making. Because I think you nailed it with the contempt part. Contempt is personal. It feels like they're mad at us.
That's
so
right.
I immediately feel the reaction coming up, and I'm like, "Oh, that can't be about us. We haven't even interacted yet." But
that's right.
Most people don't even have that. I think that consciousness. They're just quietly making judgments on that.
That's right, and it has the feeling of superiority or looking down on. Like, if I come to you with a contemptuous face, we've never even met, but it has the appearance or the feeling that I'm coming at you like I'm looking down on you.
Yeah.
What's really spectacular and what's really amazing about this concept of RBF is that it's not overt. It's not a genuine overt contemptuousness. It's just a slight subtle contemptuousness. And that's what we're perceiving. And that's creating this uncomfortability. It's not full blown. If someone comes at you with right, we've all made jokes, or we've all received looks from our moms or our significant others, our family members, where we've seen full blown contempt. But in this case, it's just a subtle amount that really is driving this.
That's interesting. So what causes it? Like, what is it?
I mean, I hate to say it, it's just your face. It's it's an asymmetry of the face. It's usually, associated with a dimple or a spot on the forehead or something like that.
It's so funny because Judy in our group just said she has a spot on her forehead that makes her look mad, but she's not. She needs Botox for that spot. So it literally is just resting bitch face. It's just the natural way the face rests.
Precisely.
What's going on inside their head, right?
It has nothing to do with going on. And I'll give you an example, because this is something that even in my own life, I'm really self-conscious about my smiles because I have a crooked smile, right? Ever since my 4th grade yearbook picture. So I'm really self-conscious about smiling in pictures. Mm-hmm. A really terrible fake smile. And so for the last 5 or 6 or 10 years, all of my friends would say to me, "You never smile in pictures." And from my perspective, I am smiling, right? I'm genuinely happy. I think I'm projecting a smile. And then the feedback I get is that I'm not smiling. I don't look happy. And so I've consciously been working on this, right? You're standing in front of a mirror. You're waiting for the elevator, right? Literally every elevator has a mirror, so you can look at yourself. Practice there of, we've all got cameras with front-facing cameras. It became a self-conscious effort to try to project more of a smile. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a toothy smile. Still doesn't have to be my awkward, crooked smile, but one where it still looks like I'm smiling, right? Where I don't look like I'm ruining the pictures, which is literally what someone told me once.
Oh, no.
It's ruining pictures.
That's a little bit harsh, but I've heard that said to other people as well, though. And that tells you, it shows a really good example of the different perspectives that are involved in a dynamic like that too.
That's right.
To you, you're thinking that you're just smiling and everything is great. And then
yes.
You get bombarded with people telling you you're not. And I know that's frustrating too, because I talk to my friends with the RBF issue, and they get sick of it. They get tired of people telling them to cheer up all the time when they're perfectly happy. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that perception is reality.
That's right.
And I like what you said about practicing and knowing how you show up in the first place is kind of the key to everything.
That's
so
right.
If you're getting feedback like that, know that it exists. Even if you're not, take a look in the mirror and see what your RBF is doing, right? Is that?
Absolutely. And it's not fair, right? I mean, it is your neutral face. It's not fair that you should be judged that way. But for the same reason that, I had to unplug a light bulb behind me because the glare off my dome, right? I mean, life's not fair. Things aren't fair. You have to recognize it. You have to internalize it, and you have to be successful in a social culture. You have to do things to mitigate it or to deal with it.
That's right. Like if you want to play the game, you have to play by other people's rules sometimes.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. And if you think about it, nonverbal communication, right? So verbal communication, that there are 7 types of communication that we as humans, and actually animals as well, project, right? First is our facial expression. All right, so if I'm looking at you, and I can't even make an angry face right now, but if I'm looking at you with a stern brow the whole time, even if we're talking about something lighthearted, right, you're going to take it differently. If I'm smiling and I'm talking about, I just lost my dog back in December and how sad it was, and here I am smiling the whole time, that's weird, right? So your facial, obviously that's what we're talking about today, is your facial expression.
Yeah.
The second thing is your posture, right? How you're standing, how you're sitting, how you're projecting yourself. You know, how, if we're talking this whole webinar and I'm like this, what is that conveying to you, right? It's not professional. It's
like you're not interested.
like you're not interested.
Right. And this ties really closely with confidence, right? Like how your posture and will convey confidence even if you don't have it.
Yes. And also the third being your gestures. You know, some people, you could tie their arms down and they wouldn't be able to communicate a sentence, right? The classic Italian stereotype and jokes. And really, in addition to your facial expression, the fourth one is your eyes, where your eyes are looking, maintaining eye contact, right? If your eyes are shifty or something, if you're not looking at somebody in the eyes, it conveys a sense of distrust. And even which eye you're looking into also is can play a role.
In what way?
So the fascinating thing about our brains is that your eyes come in and then they cross in terms of where they actually go into your brain. And so emotional stimuli are processed on a different hemisphere than, say, words and math and things like that, right? It's that classic misconception of right brain, left brain.
Oh.
So try it. Seriously. Next time you're having a conversation with your significant other, your friends or whatever, try looking at, say, the left eye versus the right eye and see if you get a different reaction based on the type of stimuli or based on the type of conversation you're having. If it's an emotional type of conversation, try looking at their left eye. And if you're talking about your finances or logistics, try looking at their right eye. Try mixing it up, see if that reaction differs.
Well, does your research suggest that it does?
Not just mine, but
Are you there?
I got muted. Not my research per se, but I think the neuroscience research supports that.
No kidding. So for a business type of conversation, are they thinking that looking into the right eye is best, or would you still want to tap into the emotional side if you're having?
Yeah, I think you would kind of want to look at both, right? Because it can be kind of weird if you're like intensely staring. I don't know if you can feel me staring at your one eye right now, but just things to play around with, right? I mean, it really gets at the idea of eye contact is really important.
Yeah, that's fascinating to me.
Through our eyes. And in fact, Paul Ekman, who is truly the founder of facial expression recognition and really what's being conveyed through the face, painstakingly mapped out all of the muscles in your face and what muscles project what emotion. And if you think about smiling, if you think about happiness, which is truly a universal expression, everybody can recognize smiles. They're infectious. If I start laughing, you're likely to start laughing, right? Even thinking about it, you start smiling. But the reality is a smile isn't what makes a happy expression. It's in the eyes. You really do smile with your eyes. And there's a fake smile. It's called a Duchenne smile that is fake. And you can recognize it. Our software can pick it up, and you can tell when somebody's fake smiling, right? So again, the eyes are communicating so much information.
That is so important.
Dogs, our horses, cats, everything is really, it is the window to the soul, as the philosophers used to say.
So there's scientific proof that is absolutely.
There's a lot to that, yes.
And I love that. And some of the feedback that I've gotten from some of my more skeptical friends is actually, that talk about RBF. They're like, well, I'm not going to fake smile. I'm not interested in that. And that's not what this is about, right? This is about finding that genuineness or the authenticity to bring.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome. I'm fascinated by the eye contact thing. Now you're gonna spin me into a bunch of new research on that. Good.
So just for the sake of completion, then, to round out the rest of the nonverbal is communication space, right? We all know close talkers. We all know people who, space is huge. And the other two, of course, are touch and voice inflection.
Awesome.
So those are really the main aspects of nonverbal communication. And I think of all of those, I think the face and the eyes are truly the most important, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, that ties in perfectly to our business as well, because we are oftentimes in a very close proximity to people. So obviously, and people are looking to trust us. You know, we're oftentimes in the biggest financial transaction of people's lives. So they're looking for that trust. They're looking for kind of the perfect communicator, I guess, where it would be well balanced in all of this.
Yeah.
So this is all fascinating to me too. Do you have anything on voice inflection too? Because that seems to be so important, but hard to teach and hard to describe.
It really is. And I think the only thing you can do is something that we all hate to do, and that's record yourself and go back and listen.
Yeah.
And it's not fair because it's also accent dependent. It's also regional. Someone from New York City has a different accent from someone from Boston, who has a different accent from somebody from Charleston, South Carolina, who has a different accent from somebody from Chicago. So there's a lot of regional differences to voice inflection. Even in subtle things like in Pittsburgh, where they ask questions with an upward inflection. Just weird, subtle little things like that.
Yeah. But
we all know that we've all said things or heard things where something came out a lot worse than it was intended to, right? Where what was said was not nearly as bad as how it was said, right? And I think it's important just to be aware of, right? And I think that the main take home of all of this is really self-awareness and this sort of acknowledgement and practice. Again, it's not fair, but we're not all beautiful people. We're not all blessed with perfect speaking voices and perfect symmetrical faces and beautiful eyes and et cetera. So all of these things are things that require practice, patience.
Yeah, and I think that's such a key element, is that so many people think to be successful, you had to be born that way, or you had to have some sort of gift. There are so many examples of people who were not that. And it really does come down to, number one, self-awareness, and then taking action to improve in those areas where you want to. And all of these, what I love about all of these is all 7 of these nonverbal communication keys, they have practical steps that you could take. You could further research them to improve on every single.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have a resource readily available for people who want to improve those, or is it just really a matter of personally just taking it on?
I think it's a matter of personally taking on. The honest answer is that I'm a scientist by training, and so I like to look up things and study them. It's turning it into the practical applications that my own skills are trying to get better at. So most of the time it's just really uncovering what are the 7 steps of nonverbal communication. What do they mean? What are some examples, but not taking it that next step.
Yeah. Got it. Awesome.
I'm a reductionist by training. So I like to take apart things, and then, it's never putting them back together and then figuring out how to use them.
That's awesome. Love that. I love that. So, I just lost my train of thought on that one. Shoot.
That's okay. So let me say, I made one more note that I want to say for you guys is that the whole purpose of communication, nonverbal, right? As humans, we communicate via spoken language. But when you look at nonverbal communication, it has 3 main purposes. One of 3 purposes. The first is to increase the content that we're saying, to complement it, to repeat it, to accentuate it, right? So, if we're in agreement, nodding or, these kind of subtle little things, right? We to accentuate. The second is to contradict. So either you want to increase it or complement it or accentuate it. The second is contradict. Like, I'm gonna cross my arms and I'm gonna sit here with a stone face, right? We've all been into meetings with the VP who's got his arms crossed and who's automatically put up these nonverbal barriers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is to just completely substitute the verbal message, right? Sometimes you don't need to say anything.
Oh,
So think about, as you're going into your business meetings or as you're talking in your daily life, your nonverbal cues are playing one of those three roles. Right?
and it's important just to be aware of what that is conveying, even when you're not consciously doing it.
Precisely.
It's that non-conscious part that tends to trap us a little bit.
Precisely.
And have negative impact on us. Well, that is absolutely fascinating topics. And like I said, you're going to spin me off and make me do a lot more research here, which as a nerd, I absolutely appreciate. I'm kind of blown away by how this impacts me in my everyday business, because literally every single aspect of this, every 7 of these cues or ways to communicate is something that we do on a daily basis in every single loan signing. And having a deficiency in any of these is going to greatly impact not only the time that it takes, that confidence level, and the quality of the service experience. So this is huge. Thank you for that. Now, If it's all right with you, I'd like to open it up to questions.
Yeah, please. I'd love
to. Do we have any questions for Jason? You're free to either unmute yourself and just chime in and ask a question, or if you'd like to post that in the chat window, we can certainly do that as well.
That's either a really good thing or a really bad thing when you don't have.
Yeah. We've been a little on the quiet side the last 2 days, actually. I noticed it last night, too. So let's ask a question here, guys. For number 1 will be yes, number 2 will be no. Do you see how the 7 ways of nonverbal contact impact your everyday business on this? If you type a 1 in the chat window for yes, 2 for no. Okay, good. Excellent. Well, at least they can hear us. So we know that, Jason.
How to find our deficiency? Look in the mirror. Yes. Yeah, it's something that I hate doing is taking pictures of myself. I've always avoided being in the picture, always wanted to be the picture taker. Really taking the mirror to yourself and being open and honest about it. It's easy to get self-conscious. It's easy to get defensive. It's easy to, for whatever reason, but being able to say, okay, all right, my friends are right. Maybe I'm not smiling enough. Okay, how do I practice that? How do I make that more? And just like any skill, just like any kind of motor skill, it takes practice. And then over time, it does become automatic, and it does become something that you get really good at, just as you would any skill. Playing chopsticks on the piano is really no different, right? These are just muscles. They're the same muscles as they are here and in your legs. They all take that. Yeah, and even asking for feedback, right? I mean, the thing that I've been really struck by is our families are really the most brutal and most honest, right? Our friends and family are the most brutal and honest with us. And most people who have RBF have been told they have RBF, right? Nobody wakes up one morning and says, reads this article or sees something, and it's usually a progressive lifetime of somebody telling them, be happy, be happy, be happy, be happy. As I like to joke, my brother-in-law, who works in transportation logistics, he'll joke with anyone, and it doesn't matter male or female, but he'll say, hey, are you happy? Tell your face. Because, so much is being conveyed there. So, I think it's, especially for you guys in your business, asking for feedback from experts like you, Bill, or from those you trust, from your family members, right? You don't want to show up to a loan signing or show up to a client meeting and immediately ask the client for feedback, right? So it has to be in an environment where you can receive that and be receptive to that.
Yeah, exactly. And then are there any other specific cues or social cues that would hint to somebody that maybe there's something going on that they're not aware of?
I think just looking at the reaction of people and sort of looking at their reactions, right? I mean, I used to I've worked in sales, and you know, you're really looking for those cues. And if they're leaning back, if they're crossing their arms, if they're doing a lot of the negative reactions, then you know you're losing them, right? You want engagement, you want leaning towards, you want positive reactions, right? And Cheryl just asked a question: if you're nervous, how do you avoid showing stress or being nervous? One piece of advice I learned from an expert, and I can't remember her name, so if she ever sees this, I apologize to her. She is an expert in facial expression. She's studied it for 50 years. She gave a talk at a conference, and there were 800 people at this conference, and she's giving a keynote speech. She's close to retirement age, so she's been doing this a very long time. And she gets up there, and she starts talking about stress. And she says, kind of like me right now. She's like, you know, you can't see my heart beating out of my chest right now. And I think being honest is a huge thing, right? And, you know, coming to you and saying, okay, you know, it's nice to meet you, Bill. I'm not sure exactly what you guys do in terms of your transactions, but being honest and saying, hey, you know, I'm relatively new at this, you know, help me out, be a little patient or something like that to show your vulnerability. It's something that we don't like to do. We like to be guarded. We like to, especially from my world in science, we like to say we're the experts and we like to prove that we're unbreakable. But sometimes opening yourself up and showing that vulnerability is reciprocated and it's received positively, and it builds trust, because it shows that you're willing to put yourself out there and be vulnerable.
That is so true. Yeah.
Hey, I'm nervous. This is a new thing for me. I'm relatively new. Be patient with me, right? One thing that also really, really, really helps is just remember to breathe, right? Every major speech I've ever done, from my dissertation defense to all the webinars remember to breathe, because when you're not breathing, you want to talk, you get faster and you get faster. If you remember your breath, you slow down, you sound more confident, you sound more relaxed. So things you can do to kind of help with that nervousness. Again, being honest and just remembering your breath. And yeah, I saw you jump on you turned on your camera and I was still talking, so I apologize.
Oh, no, that's all right. No, that was great. Very powerful commentary on the breath. Breathing through those types of nervousness is extremely important. And then Cheryl, specifically for our industry too, showing a little bit of vulnerability is totally fine. The reality is that no matter what, when you step into that room, you are the expert. You are far ahead of a consumer who's never seen, or maybe sees one or two of these loan packages in their entire lifetime. And it's okay to say, hey, this is a new lender. I've never seen, you know, they're doing things differently. So I'm going to take my time through this. You know, for them, it is a new lender too. So they're going to totally understand. They don't know where you're at in the process unless you do want to be vulnerable. I've heard stories about both ways. I've heard people walk in and say, this is my first one. I used to be a loan officer, or I used to be a real estate agent, whatever. Let's have some fun with this and just take our time. I've also heard people not do that. You know, they don't give any indication of the time frame. They just work on the connection. That's all these are. These are just connections with people. Yeah. And when you focus on the connection with them first, the rest just kind of falls into place. And it's hard to do. I know it's not easy when you got 200 pieces of paper that you have to explain, but that really is the key. And that will come with repetition and practice too. Looks like we got some more here. In my part-time work, I have been told I speak in a very intimidating manner. Usually it is because I'm trying to get them to understand mistakes they are making. I usually start by saying, may I show you a better way to do this? Do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, I'm not really good at doing this kind of thing because I've been told I'm not passive aggressive, I'm very actively aggressive. And so um, I'm maybe not the best person for offering advice on this.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I think, honestly, I think your tone probably sets the tone for the whole thing there, Judy. I think that saying, may I show you a better way to do this, or may I show you a different way to do this, better kind of shows you ranking above them. So some people's ego gets in the way and might have an issue with that. But just, yeah, just switching different, using a different tone or softer tone.
So my significant other is also a scientist, and she's an instructor at Cincinnati Children's, and so she has to deal with grad students and undergrads and all the time. And it takes a lot to upset her, so maybe this will help. She's always really good about complimenting first, right? So, okay, so I really appreciate the effort. I really applaud your initiative. Thank you for trying to do that, right? So you start off with a compliment. You start off, praising them, right? So, you did I like the effort. Great job trying to do this, but maybe we can do it a better way. Right? Maybe we could find a better way to go about doing that, right? Or, hey, you did a great job taking the effort. It just didn't quite work out the way we wanted to. How do we make that result a little bit better, right? So by starting with the compliment and starting out by starting by finding something positive, it really helps the receptive message, as opposed to somebody like me who would be like, this is really dumb. You screwed.
Right. Well, and you guys, you hear me do this quite a bit in the NNA test taking parties as well. Hey, that's a possible answer, or that's a great possibility. Who else has a different idea? You just kind of roll on, or let's find a different answer to that one.
Yeah.
Keep the wheels turning until people kind of get to the more efficient way, or kind of the way that you'd like it done that way. Let's see what else we got here. Well, thanks, Judy. Appreciate it. I'm usually happy. Okay, so Judy says, or maybe do you have any suggestion on how we can improve this situation? Judy, do you mind expanding on that? What situation are you referring to? Or Jason, do you understand what she's talking about? I don't.
I'd rather not have my camera on. Yeah, it's
Oh, different Judy. Judy Coultry down below.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, two Judys. That's not confusing at all.
Not at all. I think there's actually three. I think we have 3 or 4 Judys in the course, which is unusual.
Wow.
And how we can improve, to tell that to the office worker. She's saying, is there a better way to do that? I think we kind of talked about that a little bit there, Judy. Just suggesting that there's a different way. If it's something that you're in charge of and you're responsible for the outcome, you have to take that on. You don't have a choice. But also, if it's not something that you're responsible for, and if they're not asking for help, I would not offer help. Offering help can oftentimes, you might be coming from a really good place to do so, but not everybody is receptive to it, and it could turn them off. But if you're a superior and you are responsible for their output, there's no way around it. You could just follow the 2 different steps. The compliment sandwich, as Jason was talking about, is actually, it's pretty effective when used correctly. If you've got an underperformer that has bounced from job to job, they are very familiar with the compliment sandwich and they are not going to appreciate it. So direct communication is definitely the way to go with people like that.
But if you're interested, there's some great books on behavioral economics to help with that. There's one called Nudge, and I forget who's the author of that, and I apologize, I should look that up. It's a fantastic, one very quick study and one very quick example. If you've is the urinals at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. You get off the plane, there used to be a mess all over the place. And so instead of putting up a sign like, hey man, you should learn to aim better, what they did is they put a little bee or a little fly on the perfect spot on the urinal, and they gave a target. And they noticed that it decreased the bathroom cleanliness, or increased their cleanliness, decreased the mistakes. So instead of telling people how to do it, they gave them a subtle nudge in the right direction, right? Mm. So the book is filled with stories like that. Another one is, of course, the authors of Freakonomics. They have another book called Think Like a Freak. It's a really funny title, but it just gets you to think about behavioral economics, behaviorists, perspectives, and they really talk a lot about being an authoritative communication style as opposed to, say, a collaborative one, right? And this is something that we deal with in sales all the time, where I know what the customer needs, and so I come in and say, this is exactly what you need, and then the customer is like, well, it didn't work out. And but he had a need. I told him exactly what he needed. Why didn't this work out? Because I came in with an authoritative approach and not a collaborative one. Instead of saying, hey, let's ask some questions. Let's find out exactly what you need. I'm here to help. I'm really here as a consultant, less as an authority figure. So there are a lot of books and things to help with that are well beyond my expertise as a researcher.
No, but I think what you just nailed is something that we can all take to when we're looking for clients, guys. When you're trying to be part of a solution to somebody, we aren't coming from an authoritarian approach. You need me, you need me, you need my services. When you come at it collaboratively, and I know we've talked about this in other webinars as well, you ask questions. You know, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need? And of course, you know already that you can help them, but find out what they're doing. Let them get out exactly the challenges that they're having, and you guys can work together to bring a solution to the table. Just like what Alita said here, you know, the positive way, we're saying we're a team. You're already assuming that you're going to be a team, and that establishes connection and relationships that will outlast any type of economic issue or mistakes or anything, because you're in it together.
Yeah, my graduate mentor, he's retired. He is a wonderful human being. His name is Ray Kesner. He is a master Yoda to me. If you know, he is just a wonderful human being. I can't say enough great things about him. But he would always come into my office every day, and he would say, "Hey, how we doing? You know, how's it going? How are we doing?" And that's how he started every conversation, with how are we doing? Not how are you, but how. And it would set up this mentality of collaboration, of equal. Here was this 68-year-old man who was world-renowned in his field, asking a 22-year-old grad student, how are we doing? Like I'm an equal to him, right? It's just an amazing technique for building collaboration and removing a lot of the stereotype or the barriers for creativity and collaboration. So.
That's one word. So much power in that one word. Like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Fabulous. Guys, I'm going to open up for we're right at the 45-minute mark. So this is usually where we try to cut it off, but we're open to absolutely more questions. If you guys have anything else for Jason or myself, let's go ahead and add it in there real quick. Going once, going twice. All right, Jason, thank you again so much.
Sure, and if I can add one more thing is, can I add it to the comments? There's a website you can go to now. It's literally testrbf.com. And if I can, let me share my screen with you right now, and I will show you. It's literally testrbf.com. And you can go here, it'll give you a little bit about it. You can upload your own image. It will analyze it for you. You can read the original paper that I wrote. and you can see a little bit about who we are as a company and what we're after. So it's literally testrbf.com. Feel free to go there. You can upload your own images. Maybe throughout the course, maybe on day one, take an image, and then every week take an image, and you can see your own improvements or something like that. And, a great your own feedback.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
and as with that article, this is as you can tell, I get really enthusiastic. I love this stuff. My degrees are all in psychology. I'm a memory researcher by training, but I absolutely love this stuff. We do seminars, we do webinars on how to observe people, how to improve your communication skills, how to sell better. We do all of these kinds of webinars. So if there's anything we can do to help, please feel free to reach out. And Bill, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it has truly been my pleasure and very enlightening. I really appreciate it. Judy asked one more question though. Will we be used as study subjects?
Not this time, but if you give me your email, I certainly will. I'll be happy to include you.
Opportunities in the future. Thanks again, Jason.
Right.
It's been really great. Have a great weekend.
You.
Thank you all for joining us on a Saturday, improving your life, improving your business.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Judy's, for all your questions.
Talk to you guys later.